Hi, I didn't see you there. Looks like you caught me practicing taking my beginner guitar skills up a level. Ah, that's really bad. I won't put that in. Well, perhaps you're at a point with your guitar playing where you've nailed the common chord shapes and you can strum out any songbook classic with relative ease. But you'd like to be a little more expressive with your guitar playing, making your chord changes sound a little more creative, perhaps even a little bit more advanced. Well, fortunately for you, we're going to look at 5 little tips or hacks that you can incorporate into your guitar playing that all have the same thing in common. They're all super easy, actually easier than the conventional way, while all sounding that little more expressive and creative. So let's dive in. Number 1, the slide chord change. So let's say you're playing C to D. Really standard C to D. No issues there. We can make those changes without any major difficulty. But it sounds a little bit overdone. They're standard chord changes, C major to D major. Nothing too expressive, nothing too creative. A little bit dull. What we can do instead, rather than changing to the standard D major, if you just slide that C shape up 2 whole frets, we're now hitting a D bass note with a kind of D sus chord. So now we've got okay, sounds way better. Don't overuse it. You can't replace a D with that kind of strange D sus that we've got going on, but every now and then, sounds really nice, super easy. Simply slide that C up 2 frets to make a kind of a D sus shape. Cool. Okay, tip number 2, the open string chord change. Now let's say we are playing a set of chords in E. We're going to go E, F sharp minor, A, C sharp minor, B, back to A. Okay, not too bad. Slightly tricky chords maybe if you're a beginner, but let's say you've nailed those chords. You've got no issues playing with them. But again, similar to the last example, they sound okay. They equally sound a little bit dull and a bit fiddly. What if we do bar chords all the way along, but leaving the open B and open E open the entire time? So we just move this E shape along. Let's see how it sounds. That sounds much better. Again, similar to the last one, don't use it all the time, but those open strings work really well because it's consistent. These 2 stay there the whole time. That sounds beautiful. Okay, tip number 3, we're going to call the consistent chord change. Has obviously some similarities to the last one. Let's assume we're playing in the key of G major and we want to change to a C major. So okay, cool. Same thing again, right? Not a problem. Easy chord changes. Sound a little bit stagnant in a way, not super expressive, not super creative, and we could make it sound better and easier at the same time. Let's start with our G. Now we're going to put our ring finger onto the open B string 3rd fret, the D, okay? So that's still a G major. We're just adding an extra D note into it. Without, with. That's alright, that sounds kind of nice. No major change, no biggie. Okay, now to change to that C, we just simply drop our 2 bass notes to the C and the E, making a C add 9. so much easier because we're only moving those top two fingers, and so much sweeter because again it's consistent. Those top sounding strings are consistent all the way through. You can even take this to an E minor, making an E minor 7. Okay? Back to the C. That sounds super sweet. So emotional. It's beautiful, right? Okay, tip number 4 is to make our chords sound fuller. Now this is super useful if you are a solo singer-songwriter who perhaps gigs and it's just yourself, your voice and your acoustic guitar. What we want to do here is make our guitar sound as full as possible when we don't have a bass player, a drummer, a keyboard player to help us do that. So let's take a C major. Not too much of a problem, but it's not the fullest sounding of chords. One, because our bass note, and therefore our deepest note, is that C. Now, on the bass scale, B, F, G, A, B, C, it's quite far down. So you're not getting a really deep, rich tone from that C. The other problem number 2, is that you're only playing 5 of the 6 strings on a guitar. So how can we make that fuller? By incorporating this big chunky bass string at the top by adding in a G just above. G is a permissible note in the C scale. It's the 5th of a C chord. So let's put our ring finger up to the G bass note, pop the pinky back where it belongs. Ooh. Now that's a full sounding C. There we go. Okay, number 5, the capo trick. So a capo is not just a cheap way of playing chords you struggle with. A capo will change the characteristics and the tone of a set of chords. Let me try and explain that for you. Let's assume that we're playing a song. Again, let's go for C. C, D minor, A minor, F. C, D minor, A minor, F. Okay, so not too difficult. Perhaps if you're a beginner guitar player, move into that F shape. It might be a bit tricky, but let's assume that you've nailed those 4 chords. That's not a problem. We're not about making this easier. We're trying to change the sound of this song. So if we put our capo on capo 5, we're not changing the chords. So it's still going to be C, D minor, A minor, F, but we're changing the shapes. If you need to know a little bit more about what capos do and how they work, you may need to go and ask our friend Mr. Google. But for the sake of today, we're going to assume we all know how to do this. So our C chord is now a G shape. Okay, still a C, but it's in the shape of a G. So our 4 chords, C, D minor, A minor, F, are now so it's just changed the tone, the characteristics. It's much further up the neck of the guitar, so it gives it a little bit more of a kind of a banjo mandolin kind of tone. It's that high pitched sound. It's not about making it easier to play. We could play the chords down here in C, but it's about giving it that brighter tone. So there you go, 5 beginner acoustic guitar tricks that will take your playing up a notch, make you sound more advanced, and are also super easy to incorporate into your playing. If something here helped you today, then consider gently tapping that like button and let me know in the comments below. And subscribe if you want to, and perhaps I'll see you in the next video.